Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 3rd of November. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director at Fairmont Equities. Your Stock Request is the weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the share price charts. So this week we have Whitehaven Coal, BHP, SciDev, Steadfast Group and New Riser. So if you have a request, please send it through. Make sure you're getting a free newsletter every Thursday, but my stock tips actually come out every Tuesday in the Dynamic Investor Report, so make sure you're getting that report. But if you do enjoy these videos, we'd love you to share them on social media or even leave us a review. Our main business is portfolio management, so if you'd like me to help you manage the portfolio and open a trading account with us, then please call me and I'll explain how that works. And all the advice here is general only. So daily chart here of Whitehaven. Obviously it's done really well this year. It's still in an uptrend. When we look at some of the recent pullbacks, we'll notice that after rallying it tends to consolidate sideways and has this little dip before going again. We've sort of got the same thing happening here. Ultimately it's still in an uptrend. What I'd do is just keep an eye on the 50-day moving average. So if I just flick to a chart, same chart but with a 50-day moving average, we could see that it gets near that before bouncing. Obviously at this point you would have had to sell out and get back in. At the moment it's bounced right off the 50-day, so I'd be happy to hold. But if it fell under the 50-day, I'd use that as the sell signal. Right, BHP, daily chart for this year, we can see that it's basically gone essentially sideways for the year after that initial sort of rally, even in the last few months, not really making much progress at the moment, no real direction. Obviously it's got some support near $36. One negative is that it has sort of gone back there on a couple of occasions, which isn't ideal. Most recently it managed to not go back to 36 before bouncing. So, I mean, that's a positive sign. I mean, the overall picture is just sort of fairly neutral. I think if it breaks $36, that's a bit of a worry. But if it can just stay up here a bit longer, then it may well be setting itself up for another move higher. I mean, if we have a look at what it did here on a smaller scale, we could see that it was banging on support for a while, but then it sort of got itself back up here and then it was ready to get going. So to be bullish, we need to see that sort of thing happen again. Okay, SciDev. So I've got this downtrend here, but looking at this move here, we've potentially got the breaking of the downtrend. If we're looking at the lower highs, it's sort of cracked the previous high. Whether we get we need to see further higher highs, higher lows. It may well just base here for a bit, so it goes sideways for a while in a bit of a range. And I think that clear range is, we've got these lows here in June, July. And this seems like a key level near 40 cents. So it may well trade between this range. I think a break under here is a negative, and it needs to break this top line for it to get going again. All right, so Steadfast. So if I just sort of zoom out, we had this sort of uptrend here, and then it was broken at the start of the year, so it took out that low. And since then, it's basically gone sideways. Maybe one big consolidation. Clearly, it's not doing the ascending triangle consolidation because it's gone too deep. If we look at this recent sort of just went to a new high before breaking, combined with the fact that it's got this deep pullback, means that we may well see lower levels. It did try to rally here, but I think that it really needs to hold sort of 460. Any sort of pullback, it needs to stay above this low. It needs to start putting in some some higher lows. Otherwise, if it breaks 460, you're looking at a retest of the March low. All right, and finally, new riser. Look, one of the main things I've noticed on this chart is this sort of early July. You had this sort of big negative candle. It opened really high, but then closed all the way down here near its lows on big volume, and then the next day it continued to follow through on the downside. So that, to me, that was a massive sell signal, and it was going to tell us that the risk is now to the downside here. It was setting itself up for more selling. Along the way, we could see that most of the closes have been on the lows. That's why we're seeing all these red candles, hardly any white candles. So I think just for the moment, the momentum is to the downside. Okay, well, that's all for this week. If you have a request, send it through. I'll try to look at it next Thursday.